She ran down the platform shouting my name just as the train began to move, her hat slipping from her head and tumbling onto the tracks, and I nearly jumped off that railcar without thinking about what it would cost me. It was the summer of 1949, and the depot in our small Pennsylvania town had never felt so loud. Steam hissed from beneath the engine, metal groaned, and the conductor was already calling out last boarding. I had one foot inside the train, a duffel bag slung over my shoulder, and a one-way ticket to Detroit in my pocket. The steel mills were hiring, and a man could make real money there. Money we didn't have. Then I heard her. "Jack." I turned and saw Eleanor weaving through the crowd, cheeks flushed, eyes wide with something between fear and determination. We had said our goodbyes the night before. Softly. Carefully. Like sensible people. But there's nothing sensible about young love. The train lurched forward. For one reckless second, I almost leapt back onto the platform. But I didn't. I held her gaze as the distance widened. She wasn't crying. That was the worst part. She just stood there, hands clenched at her sides, watching me leave. That look followed me all the way to Detroit. I had met Eleanor 3 years earlier at the 4th of July picnic by the Susquehanna River. She was sitting on a wool blanket, braiding her younger sister's hair while a portable radio crackled out big band tunes. The scent of charcoal and sweet corn drifted through the warm air. When the fireworks started, she tilted her face toward the sky like she was memorizing it. I asked her to dance that evening on the makeshift wooden floor near the church tent. She laughed when I stepped on her shoe. "You're not very graceful," she said. "I'm better with engines," I replied. She smiled like that was exactly the answer she wanted. By 17, we were inseparable. Friday nights meant Dawson's Diner, where we'd sit in a red vinyl booth and feed coins into the jukebox until Sentimental Journey or Blue Moon filled the room. Summer evenings meant driving my father's old Chevy pickup out past the cornfields, parking beneath a sky thick with stars, and talking about the future like it was a promise. She wanted to become a teacher. I wanted to build something with my hands that would last. The first turn came the winter my father got sick. Pneumonia, they said at first. Then something worse. The doctor bills stacked up on the kitchen table. My mother took in sewing, but it wasn't enough. Detroit felt like salvation. "They're paying double what you make at the garage," my cousin Frank wrote. "Come now before the jobs fill." Eleanor listened quietly when I told her. "You have to help your family," she said. "I won't be gone forever." "How long is forever?" she asked gently. We didn't answer that. Detroit in 1949 was loud and restless. The factories roared day and night, smoke curling into the sky. I rented a narrow room above a bakery that smelled of yeast at dawn and diesel by noon. The assembly line was relentless, but the paychecks were steady. I sent most of the money home. Eleanor wrote every week at first. Pages filled with small-town details, Mrs. Hargrove's new baby, the church choir's off-key Easter hymn, the way the river flooded that spring. She ended every letter the same way, "Come back when you can." I wrote back with stories of noise and ambition, of men from all over the country chasing something bigger than cornfields. Then came the second turn. Her letters grew shorter. "I've been helping at the schoolhouse," she wrote one month. "Mr. Bennett says I have a knack for it." There was pride in her words. Distance, too. One Saturday night, after a 12-hour shift, I walked past a diner glowing warm against the Detroit cold. Couples laughed inside, jukebox lights flashing. I realized I hadn't seen her in nearly 8 months. I bought a bus ticket home. When I arrived unannounced, she was standing outside Dawson's diner with another man. Tall. Clean-cut. His hand resting easily on the small of her back. She saw me first. "Jack?" The other man turned. "This is Robert Hale," she said. "He's teaching at the high school." I shook his hand, trying to steady my voice. He was polite. Confident. Everything a town like ours admired. That night, she and I walked down Maple Street under the flicker of the street lamps. "You didn't tell me about him," I said. "You didn't tell me you were coming." The words stung because they were true. "He's kind," she continued. "He's here." There it was. I had left to be responsible. To be honorable. But absence has a way of reshaping love. I returned to Detroit the next morning with something unsettled in my chest. The third turn arrived as a letter I nearly didn't open. "Jack," she wrote, "Robert has asked if I would consider a future with him." The paper shook in my hands. "I haven't answered," she added. "But I can't keep waiting without knowing if you're truly coming home." I read that sentence until the factory whistle blew. That night, I made a choice. I requested a transfer back to the small satellite plant 40 miles from home. The pay would be less. The work harder. But I would be there. The supervisor laughed when I told him. "Men come here to get ahead, not go back." "Maybe I left something unfinished," I said. I arrived home in late October, leaves burning gold along the roadside. Eleanor was grating papers on her porch when I walked up. "I'm staying," I told her. "For how long?" she asked. "As long as it takes." She searched my face for doubt. "Robert proposed last week," she said quietly. The world narrowed. "And?" I told him I needed time. I swallowed. "Don't choose me because I came back," I said. "Choose me because you believe in us." Silence hung between us, broken only by the distant hum of a tractor. The fourth turn came when my father's health took another downturn. I began working double shifts at the smaller plant. Money tightened again. Pride flared. One evening, exhausted and frustrated, I told her maybe she should accept Robert's offer. "Don't push me away when things get hard," she said firmly. "That's not love. That's fear." Her words cut clean. A week later, Robert knocked on my door. He stood straight-backed on the porch. "I need to know your intentions," he said, almost echoing her father years before. "I intend to marry her," I replied. "Then do it," he said quietly. "Don't leave her in limbo." I expected anger. Instead, there was dignity. The fifth turn came at the church social that December. Snow blanketed the town. Inside, strings of lights glowed warm against pine garlands. The band played slow hymns turned dance tunes. I asked her to step outside with me. Under the soft fall of snow, I took her hands. "I can't promise riches," I said. "But I can promise I won't run again." She smiled, breath clouding in the cold. "I never needed riches," she said. "I needed you to stay." We married in the spring of 1951 beneath budding dogwoods. No grand gestures. Just family, friends, and the steady knowledge that we had chosen each other in full awareness of what it meant. Life was not effortless after that. The plant downsized twice. We lost our first child before we ever held her. There were nights we sat at the kitchen table in silence, wondering if love could carry the weight of disappointment. But it did. Years later, when highways bypassed our town and Dawson's Diner finally shuttered its doors, we would drive past the old depot where she once ran after that train. "I almost let you go," she'd say softly. "I almost jumped," I'd answer. The truth is, love is rarely proven in grand leaps. It's proven in the decision to step down from the train. To return. To build where you stand. When I think of her now, of fireflies and jukebox songs, of steam rising from a waiting train, I don't remember the fear as much as the choosing. She changed me not by chasing me down that platform, but by standing still and asking me to decide who I wanted to be. And I learned that the bravest thing a young man can do is not to leave in search of something bigger, but to stay, and make something beautiful where his heart already belongs.